Hi, this is Gail Nettles with Beaded Jewelry Diva. Today we are going to make the anemone earrings, and we use a technique of fringing called coraling to make these earrings. So they're all done in sea kind of colors with blues and greens. I do have a pair that I've made that I originally called Coral Seas because they're done in kind of like coraling colors, and I'll talk a little bit more about these at the end of the video, but today we are going to learn to make this pair. So ready, set, let's get beading. Let's go over the supplies that you're going to need for this particular set of earrings. You will need two 14mm Swarovski crystal pearls, or the bead of your choice, about 14 millimeters. You'll need some thread. I'm using some 1G thread. I would not suggest using Fireline or Wildfire or anything like that for this one. You need a little bit of drape for these earrings, so you need more of a thread as opposed to something like Fireline or Wildfire. I have a beading needle. This is a size 11. I have some size 11 delicas, some size 10 delicas, some size 11 seed beads, these are Tohos, and then just some random size 11 seed beads, and of course a pair of scissors. I threaded my needle. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention previously, you'll need a pair of earring findings for these earrings. Yikes, almost forgot that one. Okay, I've threaded my needle with about 4 feet of thread. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my needle up through the center of the bead, and I'm going to give myself about, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches for the tail. Okay, the thread is coming out of the top of the bead. I'm going to put my needle back up through the bottom, run it all the way up, so it's wrapped around like this. Now I'm going to do it a second time. We're going to be doing brick stitch for this, and I like to have my thread very stable, so I always do it twice. So you'll see I've got 2 threads on this side. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing again, only I'm going to have the thread on the opposite side. So 1 and 2. Now I'm going to pull the thread snug, not super tight, but snug, and make sure that it all lines up. So you can see from the top, I've got 2 threads going this way and 2 threads going in this direction. Okay, so I didn't need a stop bead on this because this really stays in place really well. My first thing is I'm going to go ahead and put my needle under both threads. Doesn't matter which side you start on, whether it's left or right, it's up to you. I'm going to pull it through. I'm picking up 2 seed beads. I am going under both of these threads this time. Make sure. And then I'm putting my needle up through the second bead. So now they're sitting a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I pick up one more bead under both threads, just like I'm supposed to, and then up through the bead. So again, this is basic brick stitch, and that's what we're going to do all the way around the Swarovski pearl. Again, pick up a seed bead, and I'm using the Tohos at this point. Go under the thread bridge, then put my needle up through the seed bead. One more time, and then I'll do a bunch more so you don't have to watch me do it all the way around, and we'll join back when I'm finished. But pick up a seed bead under the thread bridge, pull through, and then run your needle up through the seed bead you just added. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this all the way around the bead. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to join you back when I'm about to this point, and you can see how I join the end to the very first bead. Okay, I am getting real close to being done with the first part of this. So I'm just going to continue on with, let me see, I think, trying to decide if I can put 1 or 2 more beads in this location. Looks like 2. So I've got this one, again, regular brick stitch, and there's room for 1 more bead. So I'm going under the thread bridge, same as always. There's my tail, get that out of the way. Needle up through the bead I just added. Now, we're at a spot where this is the last bead that I put on, and this is the first bead that I put on. And I've got to join these two because you can see right now this one's kind of sitting a little on the wonky side. So my thread is coming up out of this bead. I'm going to put my needle down through this bead. So the very first bead that I put on. So see, that straightened it out. And to fully join it, the thread's coming out of this one, which is the first bead. I'm putting my needle up again through the last bead I added on. And then I'm going to go down one more time. There. So now we've got a brick stitch of beads all the way around. Now here comes the fun part. The fun part is next, and this is where we're going to do the coraling. So first, where do you decide to start the coraling? Well, I just go ahead and start from where I am. But I want to say, remember I talked earlier about if I made a mistake somewhere and some beads weren't sitting quite right? That's where I would start my coraling, because we're going to have a little drape that's going to hide any imperfections right around the area where we're doing the fringe. So yeah, that's why I decide after I've got them all on which place looks maybe a little wonky. To me, the beginning ending always looks a little strange, so I'm just going to put my needle so it's coming through a seed bead. Now the fun part, yay! What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a random number of beads. I'm going to be picking up the size 10 delicas, the blue seed beads, and then these shimmery, whatever they are, seed beads. These size 11 delicas, I'm going to use these for the ends of my fringe. So you'll see what I mean in just a second. Okay, I'm going to pick up 12 beads randomly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, picked up 12. Slide them all the way down so it looks like this. Then I'm going to pick up one of the size 11 delicas, slide it down all the way. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this delica that I just put on, and I'm going to run my needle up through 3 beads. So this acts as our little turn bead, this little dark blue delica. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 3 more random beads, doesn't matter what they are, and then another one of the size 11 delicas. I'm going to skip the delica and go back up through the 3 beads that I just put on, if I can run through it. Then I'm going to run up through the original strand, let's say another 2 beads. So you can see now I'm coming out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th bead down. And I will say that there is no exact science to this. You can do whatever it is you want to do. You can add however many beads you want to for a fringe. I'm just giving you a place to get started if you've never done coraling. Okay, so I'm coming out of this blue bead here. So I'm going to just go ahead and add 2 of the greens and 1 of these shimmery ones. And of course my delica for my turn bead. So now you see why they call it coraling, because you can see that it's starting to really fringe out. Now there's some other names for this particular type of fringing. I think I've heard chicken foot fringing. I like coraling better. Okay, so I just went ahead and put it up through maybe another 3 seed beads. So this is what it looks like so far. I'm going to pick up, I think maybe 2 seed beads this time, and a size 11 delica for my turn bead. Go back through the 2 that I just added, back up through another 2. Now I'm coming out of the 2nd bead in this strand. So you can see where my thread is coming out of the 2nd bead down. I'm just going to add 1 more bead, just for a little extra fullness right at the top. So got my turn bead, I'm going to skip it, put my needle up through the seed bead and then back through the original bead and then back through the brick bead that I originally came out of. And when you pull this, make sure that you're not catching on any of the strands while you're doing this. What I'm going to do, since I'm coming out of the top of the bead that I just finished the coraling strand, I'm going to go down through the next bead in line. And it doesn't matter if you go to the left or to the right, up to you. Okay, I'm coming out of the next bead in line. So what this time, the first time I added 12 beads, so this time I'm going to go ahead and add 10 beads. Again, doesn't matter what they are, it's going to be random. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, got 10 beads. Then I'm going to go ahead and pick up one of my size 11 delicas, run it on down, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to skip this delica at the end. I'm going to run my needle up, this time I think I did 4 beads. Like I said, this is not an exact science. I'm going to pick up 3 beads. 1, 2, 3, and a turn bead. Skip the size 11 delica, go back up through, I'm going to do 3 more beads. So make sure it's rather snug. I'm going to add 4 beads this time. So like I said, there is not an exact science. You can add however many beads you want every time. And this time I'm just going to go ahead and go up through all of them and then up through my brick bead. So that's what my second piece of coral looks like. Now I'm going to show you one more. This time I'm coming out of this bead. I'm going to run down through the very next one. And this time I am going to add, let me see, I did a 12, a 10. I'm going to do an 8 this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Size 11 Delica. Slide it down. Skip the Delica. This time I'm going to go up through 2 beads. Yes, you guessed it. I'm doing something different with this one as well. I'm going to pick up 2 beads. Oops, that's 2. And then my size 11 Delica. And skip the size 11. Go up through a few more so you can see where I'm going at this. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of this one, and then one more on this side. I'm going to add 7 beads on this particular one. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you how the next step of what I do to get from this bead or this strand all the way over to this side. So give me a few minutes and I'll be back and we'll show you what the next step is. So I have finished this side of this earring. So my needle and thread is coming out of this bead. So this is the strand that I did the 7 beads on. My needle and thread is coming out of this one right beside it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up one of the matte sapphire, light sapphire, and then one of these shimmery beads. Let it sit on down to the top of the bead. I'm going to skip the shimmery bead and go back down through the light blue sapphire toho and then the brick stitch bead right below it. So what I'm doing is I'm actually kind of putting a little bit of a different kind of anemone fringe on the rest of the earring so it doesn't look quite so naked. Okay, I'm coming out of this one, so just kind of like a brick, you're going back up through the next bead, add the sapphire and the shimmer. Actually, I think the color is called gold lustered crystal or something like that. I just call it shimmer. Okay, skipping the shimmer bead and going down through the 2 light sapphires. I'll show you one more time, then I'll go ahead and do this around so you don't have to watch me do it the whole way. So pick up the light sapphire, pick up a shimmer, let it fall on down, skip the shimmer, and go back down through the 2 sapphires. Alright, so I have gone around pretty much the entire bead with these little spikes. Now I've got 3 beads that don't have anything on them. So these 3. These are going to be my last fringes that I'm going to put on. So what I've got to do is I've got to do it in reverse order. This one's going to have, let me get the needle, this one's going to have the 7 beads, this one's going to have 8 beads, this one's going to have 10 beads, and then this is going to be my last, or this is my middle. So I will show you these 7 beads and then I'll go ahead and do the other ones just so you don't, off camera, so you don't have to watch me. So I'm coming up through this 3rd bead from the coraling. I'm adding on 7 beads randomly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the turn bead. And skipping the turn bead, go through a few. You do not have to mirror exactly the other side. You can do whatever you want. No rules, just right, just like they say in the commercials. You want it, you want the sides to look similar, I guess is the way to put it, but you don't want them to look like twins. you just want to have roughly the same amount of fullness on each side. So, and of course, like I said, you gotta be careful that you don't get yourself all caught up in your threads. Now, right now I'm just doing the very first earring, or it looks like I'm doing the very first earring. Actually, this is the second one that I've done. If you are a person that likes to have your earrings look exactly alike, this probably isn't the technique for you, but if you really want that to happen, what I suggest is that you have both earrings and you work on them both. You do one set of coraling on one earring, then go, put the needle on the next earring, do the same pattern, etc. That way you'll create two earrings that look like exact duplicates. I'm not that way. I'm more of a freeform type of gal. Okay, so I've got this one on. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the 8 and the 10, and when I'm done with those, I'll come back on camera and we'll show you what to do next. Alright, so I have gone back and now my thread is exiting this last bead. This is the last of the coral fringe, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my drape. So for this I will pick up 8 of these shimmer beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. Drop them down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drape them on the end of, or right along the edge. It looks like I probably need 1 or 2 more. So you may need 8, you may need 7 or 9 or whatever, but I'm trying to fit them along the bottom so it ends up being a little drape. So that's about right, so I guess about 9 beads, and I'm going to put it up through this bead that has the coraling on it. So I'm putting my needle up through it, trying to keep everything. Here we go. So we have a little drape there, and that serves a multitude of purposes. But mainly, you've got a lot of thread in this area because you're going back and forth with all the coraling and everything. So this little drape, I think, just serves a useful purpose in that it hides the threads, and I think it also looks kind of cool. Okay, now comes the fun part. I've got to decide which 2 beads up here are going to be the best to put my bead hanger from. So how do I decide that, since there's really no obvious 2 beads that are the centers? So what I do to decide is I put my needle up through 2 beads that I wanted to test out to see what they look like. And do I like the look of the way it hangs? Not quite sure, so let me try these 2. I think I like the way that these 2 hang a little bit better. So these are going to be the 2 that I use for my earring finding hanger. So what I've got to do is I've got to come up into this bead. So I will come up through the bead right next to it. Down through the bead I want to go up through. And this is what you do. You can go ahead and put your needle under the thread bridge, and that'll go ahead and tighten it. And I'm just going to flip it and put it up through the bead I want it to go up through. Come on, you can do it. So up through the bead. There we go, up through, and then up through the second of the blue beads. batteries do not want to cooperate with me today. Okay, and then up through the shimmer bead. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to add 4 of the shimmer beads. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 shimmer beads. And I'm going to go down through the very next shimmer bead. So it's on the next set of beads. So it's going to end up looking like this. I need to reinforce it, so yep, you guessed it. I'm going to go back down through the 2 blue beads. And by this time it starts getting a little on the tight side, but that's just the way it's going to happen, I guess. So just go ahead and get your beads up, or get your needle up through as best you can. And I like to do it at least twice. 3 times is better as far as I'm concerned for going ahead and reinforcing. But I'm just going to do 2 right now, so you get the idea. So up again, down again, and then we're going to tie off, and I'll show you what I do to tie off. So down through all the beads. So now we've got our little hanger. So what I do to tie off is I go down, you see I'm just going ahead and putting my needle under the thread bridge, flipping to the opposite side, and putting my needle under the thread bridge again. So what I'm doing is I'm catching some threads that go between the beads. So I'm on this side, I'm going to catch another set of threads. And then finally I'm going to go ahead and go up through some beads. So I'm just going to go up through 1 of the beads. So up through 1. I'm going to tie a half hitch between these 2 beads. So my needle is going under the thread bridge between these 2 beads, bottom beads. Pull a loop. Put my needle through the loop, tie it, and then go down through the next bead. And I'm going to do that one more time on the next bead, and that way I can be sure that my little hanger isn't going to have a problem. So up through it, through the thread bridge, back through the loop, and then down into a bead, because you don't want to ever really snip your thread right next to where you've knotted it. So let's make sure that I don't catch anything. You know, I am making all the mistakes today. I am fumble fingers. Okay, so I've got that out. I'm going to snip it. And I have my beads, my earrings. So I'm going to go ahead and take my lever backs and lever them back. And this is one of the ones that you can just slip beads on. Close it up. And do the same thing for the other bead. I like these lever backs that lets you have an open loop here, because you can do quick change beads out of that too, or quick change earrings. So here we go, our anemone earrings. I think this is a really fun project. I think these are really pretty beads, or pretty earrings. Let me see, do I have another set that I can show you? I think I do. Okay, here's another set. And these are a little bit more simple. I didn't quite put as much fringing on it. And you see that I have little picots here instead of the this kind of what I call the anemone fringing, and I left off that little drape. But it's the same general idea. So we've got these and we've got these. So there we go, anemone earrings. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a like. If you don't already subscribe to me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And I'd love to see you over at my website, www.beadedjewelrydiva.com, where I have all sorts of fun stuff and goodies and other tutorials, and you'll just have to come and see. So this is Gail Nettles signing off for today and wishing you happy beading. Bye!